Welcome, YouTubers. Glad you're watching today. This is Condor Man Do-It-Yourself Projects. Today we'll be working on a PB-250 Echo blower. And this is a two-stroke combination fuel mixture ratio, 50 to 1 mixture. Which is a lot like the chainsaws, like the MS-180 and the C and the MS-250 all use 50 to 1 fuel ratio, same as this blower. This unit does not run. I've tried replacing several things over the last few months, spending about $50 on a air filter, which is brand new, air filter cover, which is brand new, a little dusty right now, but brand new. I marked a C up here for choke and down here R for run because it didn't have it marked on this one. This is a aftermarket cover. Spark plug's new. I just put that in. I'll show you how to clean the piston in there and put a new spark plug in. So it doesn't run. I've had multiple problems with it. A person had given it to me many months ago, and it did not run at all when they gave it to me. The fuel lines were old, they were cracked. I replaced the fuel lines. It didn't have an air cleaner on it. It didn't have an air filter, so I had to get those. The drawstring here, where it screws in here, and here, 3 of them were broken. One was barely hanging on, and one was good, so I got a new recoil. Didn't replace the carburetor. I cleaned the fire out of it. It was so dirty. I cleaned it out the best I could. I ended up ordering a new carburetor for it. It comes with new gaskets, new spark plug, and fuel filter here. This fuel filter here. I can't remember if I replaced the other one with what I had, but here's a new one right here. So I guess we're just going to get started here. This will be the first unit that I worked on that doesn't run, but most of the equipment I've had is either well maintained or it's just a decent product or mower, and I've been able to fix. They were basically already running, just needed to be cleaned or tuned up. So I'm going to remove the cover here. As you can see, my filter, it's not very old. I just basically replaced it not too long ago. So I'm going to put that over here. If for some reason your cover is dirty, you'll want to blow this out with an air compressor or a canned air. Clean this up with a toothbrush and get all the dirt and dust out of it, because these are the most important components for keeping clean. Of course, that goes on there like this. That big wide part goes over this big wide part and just pops together. We'll put that over here for now. The kit came with new fuel lines, fuel filter, new carburetor, neck gaskets, and spark plug. So what we'll do is we'll take the spark plug back out so you can see what I did in there. I went ahead and cleaned it before I knew I was going to make the video. So what I did is I just took this screwdriver. And when you get in here, it's kind of dark. You can't see down in there. I do have a light right here, so maybe I can point down there. Maybe you can see it that way. Oh, that's really bright. Okay, so I don't know. Let me see if I can get you up with the camera a little bit closer here. And you can see down in there the piston. You see that shiny part down in there? That's the piston. That's where I cleaned. So what I did was is I took a screwdriver like so. I stuck it down in. I just lightly scratched it. Spray a little bit of carburetor cleaner. This is the carburetor cleaner I just used. I just lightly spray it down in there. It's okay if you get a whole bunch in there. It's not going to hurt it. Take your screwdriver and you lightly scratch off. There's a big round dent in there, like a circular dent. You just scratch it down in there, clean it off, scratch it down in there until you get it where you can see shiny metal. That's the important thing. You don't want to hit the piston walls. Of course, on this one, you can't really hit the one down here, but you could hit the one going forward. But you shouldn't have a problem getting it in there. You should be able to see what you need to see. So what I did, this is already pre-gapped. So I'm just going to stick it back in there. And then thread it down in there. Hard to get this angle a little bit here so y'all can see. There we go. Tighten that down there finger tight. Should go in really easy. Try not to cross thread it. Then you take your tool here. Let me see what size it might be. That's the wrong size. I usually just use the steel Echo size. Alright, that's not gonna fit either. Let's see if it's this one here. Nope. Alright, let me find the size here. Alright, the size is a 13/16 standard. And so 13/16. My wrench here is automatically just the size because it's made for steel Echo sizes. So I'll just use that wrench. One end of it is the hex size. I don't even know what the T size. I think it's a 2.5. I think. Let me check here with this one. Yeah, so it's basically a 2.5. Would work. T25, or you could also. I think the size might be a little closer to. See, this is a T20. No, that's too loose. So let's see. T27 was probably the right size. Yes, the T27 fits perfectly and snug, so that's what it is. The T27, I usually use a T25 because this is usually what I have right offhand. It fits perfectly. But the T27 is the size that you would want to buy, because that one fits snug and perfectly, so you don't strip anything out by accident. All right. So what we got to do here. So I wanted to show you right offhand. Now this tube here. So if you get a screwdriver, like a flat blade, let's see if you can see that in the picture here. So this little white button right here where I got my screwdriver, if you just push up on that button right there, and you pull this tube out at the same time, it catches this little notch right here, right there, and then I'll just show you how it pops in. See, it clicks and pops in. You push that button up and you just pull it out real easy. So that way we can get that tube out of the way so it's not fighting us the whole time. So basically inside the tube just basically looks something like this, or the big hole there. It just pops right in this little clip right here, this white clip right there. See it? All right. So what we want to do here is, we got that tie, got the spark plug thing off. I'm just going to lightly put it on there just to get it out of the way. All right. Now, this is the T27 inside the carburetor. Got two T27 screws there. You're just going to loosen those up. Trying to put this over here so y'all can see it. So we're just going to undo that. I'm going to use all regular tools today, just because it just seems like the right thing to do. Not everybody has power tools, so I'm going to show you how to do it with non-power tools. Do this side. I usually spin with these two fingers and steady it with this finger over here to make it go a little faster. Almost like a power tool. Sometimes you can use both fingers and go way faster, like so. And then like this. Alright, now that we got her loose, just finger the rest of the way here. Alright, you pop off there. I'm going to slide this shroud right off. The little metal clip there, when we put it back on, it'll go on first with the two bolts. So I'm just going to keep them on there. Everything is nice and clean on this one, so I'm not That's just showing you how much to clean it as much as just to replace it. Alright, now on this one you're going to want, before you take the fuel lines off, you're going to release the pressure in the fuel tank. By doing that, you take all the pressure away, because if you don't, it has back pressure and it will blow fuel all over you. So I'm going to check real quick to see if I had time the last time to change the fuel filter, which I don't think I did, because I don't think I had one. So I'm going to look down in this tank to see if I had put one on there. Alright, let's see here. Let me get my needle nose pliers here. There, and get you some needle nose. And just try to stick it down the hole and grab that hose. Once I've grabbed it, I can stick my screwdriver under the hose and just pull up on it lightly. And I did put a filter in there. It looks like I had a filter possibly. Yeah, no, that was the original. So I don't know if you can see in the picture here. Let me see if I can get a close up here. Well, let's see. I'm going to have to take it off the mount here. Bear with me here. Alright, let's see. I'm in major blow up mode here. Let's see. Okay, there we are. There's the filter. So that's not the original one. That is the original one that was in there. So see how it's all swelled, and you really need to change that because it's blown up more than it's supposed to be. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to put you back up high. There it is. There's the carburetor, closer view. This is a fuel line right here we're going to take off. This is to the primer bulb. This is the main fuel from the tank. This black hose, which matches the same black hose right here. The other hose down here, there's 3 hoses. There's 1, 2, 3. The other one is just a vent hose so that the tank gets air. And then this linkage right here, we're going to have to take off right there. This linkage right there, we're going to take that off too. And that'll be all you need to take off for putting on a new carburetor. Okay, so what we're going to do now is replace this fuel filter. So take your needle nose and you're just going to lightly turn to get the pressure. It gets stuck on the rubber, so you need to lightly turn that. So what we're going to do is put the new one on right after that. It just, you know what, we're going to have to cut that. So just take your needle nose and cut off the end here with a fresh end. Like me, get a little bit of dirt on there. That's not what we want. Alright, and then we're going to press that on there. It's a little bit tighter. Just press down here on the metal part with your fingers. Lightly press it on all the way. Boom, there you have it. Nice and tight and snug. Force that puppy back down in the tank, like so. Alright, push with your screwdriver to get it all the way down to the bottom. There we have it. Alright, and then now we're going to take a clean paper towel here. We're going to tear it in half. We're going to ball it up like a little ball. We're going to stick it down, a little bit of dirt down there in the spout here. I'm going to stick this down in the hole there so that dirt and stuff can't get in there. Then we're going to take off the linkage back here. It just pops right off of there. So you can see it just popped right out of that hole. I'll stick it back on there just to show you. So it goes right in there real easily. And then I'm going to pull off the bottom hose, which is the primer bulb. The black hose is the main fuel supply. So I'm just going to pull that off there. Probably have to twist this with the needle nose here because the line is a little stiff and tight on there. Lightly just turn it with your needle nose by gripping the hose. There we go. Lightly pop it off. Then we're just going to pull that off of there like so. There we go. Alright, here's the old one. You see everything about it. Let me see if you can see that in the camera. Yep. So there's the old one. Now the new one I ordered is not exactly the same one. It's really close. I thought when I ordered it in the picture it looked like it was the right one, but knowing eBay or whatever, they might have accidentally sent me one that's maybe an revised version or a newer one that they had. Basically, the whole thing's the same. The screws are plastic on that one. This one's turned upside down, but it all still works basically the same way. Alright, so here is the new one. I'm going to open it up here in the box. I've already cut the tape. It comes with some new primer bulbs. Now this one's really similar. It's got the same kind of problem. Now these here are metal, but they're different type of screws. They're longer, they're black, versus those on this one are different colored. Everything else is pretty much the same. Throttle, fuel hose, everything. I believe it'll work perfectly. This one came with new gaskets, so I'm going to put those on. Not sure which ones go where yet, because they're a little bit different than when I had come in here. The person that had evidently taken this apart at one time, there were no gaskets on it, so I didn't put new gaskets on it. This one has this little filter right here. You can see I put a new one on last time. Came with the hoses. The hoses didn't fit. You know, the way it seemed like they ought to fit, so I had to drill out the holes and actually modify it a little bit so they fit in there really tight. The hoses that came with that were already in there, they were leaking fuel around here, so I did put new hoses on. This one, unfortunately, I'm going to put a new gasket. I think it's, let's see, this one probably goes in the front. Let's see if that'll fit. So that one goes in the rear because this little hole right here lines up. I'm going to show you the hole. So that little bitty hole right here, this little one has a little bitty hole in there. So I'm just going to stick it over that little hole. It lines up perfectly with all the other holes. I'm going to go ahead and stick it back on my linkage here. Alright, the linkage goes on the very tip. There's kind of like a bend in the linkage. That's where you want the linkage to sit. Alright, the other fuel line goes back on this hose on the top. Just push it all the way on as far as you can push it on. Want to make sure it makes a good seal. Then this one goes down here on the lower one. Push it on as far as you can so it makes a good seal. Oh, linkage came off. Let me put the linkage back on here. Pops out real easily. Alright, now I'm going to put the gasket back on like so till it lines up with the holes. Hold it with my finger. I'm going to press that on there like so till it lines up halfway decent. Then I'm going to take my cover right here with the bolts, line it up with the bolt hole. But before I do that, I'm going to put this gasket on there. So I'm going to turn this around. There's no particular way this needs to go on. There are no holes for it to line up with. This over here does have a hole right there, so I think I'm just going to line it up with that hole. Kind of lines up with a halfway. It's not really the full way, so I'm just going to turn it back around. I don't know that that matters. I don't believe it does. It doesn't really line up with it anyways. I mean, partial way, but so I'm just going to turn it around on the top side where it covers that hole all together. And now I'm going to slide these in over that gasket. Then the gasket in the rear here, slide over till it hits the holes. This one slid down a little bit, so let me see if I can push it back up just by looking at it slightly there. Alright, let's see. There you are. Get the hole lined up in the gasket. That I'm going to have to let me take it back off here a little bit so I can push the bolt through, push it through the hole of the seal. Make sure that throttle stays right in that S curve there. Now we're going to put, oops, that side of the gasket slipped off again. Okay, now we're going to line it, keep popping it off there. Come on, stay on there. Alright, there we are. Slide it up ever so gentle up to the hole. Alright, let's see. Oh, yeah, that's pretty close there. It's right on the hole. Let's see if I can get the bolt started here. Nope, that one popped right back off. This is going to be a little difficult here. Let me see if I can, no, that one came off. Alright, let me see if I can, what's happening is let me pull this one out of there for a second. What's happening is this gasket keeps sliding off of the bolt here. So now I'm just going to push it up on there to get it up on both bolts. Alright. I know you can't see very well, but once you're doing it yourself, you'll be able to see I could probably bring you down here. Let me bring you down here so you can see what I'm dealing with. Okay, so right here, you see where the two bolts are sticking out? So this gasket right here kept falling off. There's the gasket right here. See the gasket in between right there? I'm pushing it with my finger there. There you are, the gasket right there. It keeps, there you go. See, it just fell off of there. So what you want to do is, and now it fell off all the way around. There it is on the table. So you're going to want to put that one back on, and that dirty one right there, you're going to want to put that one up, lined up with that hole. See that hole right there? It's going to line up the same hole on there, on the top part. And I'll show you that in a second. Alright, let me let go of all this real quick. Okay, this is a little bit of a tongue twister when you're working on things this close, so you just have to I'm having to stick the bolts out just a little bit, and then I'm having to blow it off. It's a little dirty. This little rubberized, this little paper seal gasket right here, I'm putting it over top of the bolt holes, just like I showed you before, up with the close-up. And then this one here actually goes like this. It goes down, so I'm going to put, you know that because it lines up, so it'll go the dirty side will go on the back side because of these little engrooved, I'm trying to hold this in a particular way. Okay, so these little grooves right here, here's one, let me see if I can see in the camera. So on the back of the carburetor, it's got this little swirl mark right here, right there, that goes in the gasket. You want to line that up with the back of the same swirl on the back side of the carburetor. Well, on this particular one, there is no swirl, so that's on that. Hold on, it's on the back of the carburetor. It's on the back of the shroud right here. That's the outline right here of the actual casing on the engine on the back side of the carburetor. So that little swirl mark lines up perfectly. Circular one on this side, little hook circular one on the top. So that's the way we're going to want to put the gasket on. So I'm just going to go ahead and slip it on here with the studs, line them up with the holes. Just go ahead and pop it on there. Now that I got it popped on there, I'm going to line the bolt holes up with the bolt holes. And then I'm going to push it all together where it's nice and tight. And then I'm going to slowly screw these in to those holes. Alright, that one feels like it's not going in right, so let me put this one in first, because it's going in easy. Go ahead and get that one in so that I can get so I can let go of it a little easier. Alright, it's going in really easy, which is what you want. If you gotta force it in, then you're probably not in there right, because you don't want to cross thread it. So I'm going to back this one back off a little bit and see if I can't get it in there a little straighter. Now it's going in real easy. I just needed to back it off just a little bit, because you don't want to go in there really tight. You want it to go in really easy, because you don't want to strip the threads. Now let me push my trigger to make sure my trigger still works here. Yep, my throttle works good. So this little knob up here, if you push it down, it locks the throttle to full throttle, which is what we have. It keeps it from jumping all around while you're trying to put the new carburetor on. I meant to say that earlier. And then when you push it back forward, it releases it so that you can move the trigger for the throttle real easily. But I had it stuck into full throttle mode so that I can put the carburetor on without that linkage flopping all around, because last time I took this apart, the linkage in the switch up here fell out, and I had to take all this apart to get it back in, and that was a pain. So I just locked it here and then took the carburetor off. This makes it a lot easier. Alright, now that we got that snug, and this needs to be snug as well. Alright, you don't need to over torque them, just tighten them down just tight enough where they make a clicking noise at you, because of the plastic and the bolt come together. Now I'm going to pull this out real fast to make sure there's no dirt that fell down in there. Now I'm going to screw this back on. Now I'm going to lightly inspect down here to make sure my hose is still on there, right through there, and that little gap right there, my little fuel bulb, the yellow hose is still on. The hose in the back up here is black. You can see it's still on. The linkage is where you can move the throttle, so you can see the throttle moving up and down. Let me bring you a little bit closer here. So you see my throttle moving up and down fine. Hoses are over here. This is the bulb one here, the yellow line. Sometimes they're both black, but I wanted to keep them separated, so I made this one yellow and the other one black so I didn't get them confused. So then we'll go ahead and reapply our air filter back in here. We got the fuel filter on. went ahead and clicked the coil plug back on the spark plug. We already got the spark plug tightened up. I'm going to put my air filter. Remember, you got the big end there goes into this big end here. So they go together. It only fits on there one way. Fits on there pretty snug. And then you just want to press it against there. Line it up with the, like I said, it only goes on one way. And this bolt, wing nut bolt here is all one piece. It won't fall out. And just turn it until it grabs. You just want it snug. Once you get it snug, just turn it about a quarter turn. That's perfect. Now I'm going to turn this to choke right here, and I'm going to see if we can't get it running here. Alright, so let's try her out here. Well, I forgot to mush the button down here, so this is the bubble right here. I gotta push that a couple times to get it choked till I see the fuel coming in. Alright, the fuel's all in. We're on choke already. Alright, now I put it on run, so I think it's choked enough, even though it didn't make the normal noise. These cords that I ordered has not worked very well for me. I'm having to tap it to get it to go back in. This is what I had to do last time I used this. It's not a very good high quality pull string, unfortunately. Alright, hold on a second. Okay, finally got it started. And it stalled. It's probably out of adjustment, or it's just not warmed up yet. I didn't have any directions when I went to start this the first time. So once I got the fuel in there, pumping into the full dry carburetor, it started right up. Now let me see if I can get it started again here, real easy. Alright, I had had to give it a little bit of throttle. So I just gave it full throttle with the button up here. And then I just snapped it and pulled it pretty hard. Not too hard. You don't want to pull it real hard because you don't want to break the cord. But now this release. This particular one is not going to run without letting go of the throttle. So I'm going to have to figure out why. So by adjusting the throttle screws, which is right here, this is supposed to be for throttle. These down here are fuel mixtures. It's possible that one of the fuel mixtures is not. So this is the high side with the little H down here in the corner. I don't know if you can, let me see if I can blow that up right there. Okay, so right there you see, let me point my screwdriver there. This is the high side right here. There's a, where are we at? There we are, high side with the H. And then over here we got the L. Oh, this is in the way. We got the L right there for low. See the L for low? So this screw is low side, this side is high side. So what we're having a problem with it running on the low side because it doesn't want to idle. So we're going to have to turn those screws to the right, I believe, is all the way in, to the left is all the way out. So I'm going to have to adjust the screws to get it to idle. Okay, I had to adjust the carburetor. A little hard to do it. I couldn't talk to you while I was doing it because of the fact that you wouldn't be able to hear me. I've ordered a new mic. It's called a DJI. And a lot of the YouTubers use them and are really good mics from what I understand. I have not received mine yet, so I'm waiting on it to come. And when it comes, you'll probably know a lot of different, because it'll have noise cancellation and all that. And I'll be able to, like I said, I'm not a sponsor of them, but I'm wanting to use theirs because a lot of my favorite YouTubers out there, use their products. But at any rate, so I had to adjust, and I'll show you here on the carburetor. So this right here is your throttle adjustment for idling. So the factory set for like I told you before, the carburetor was just a little bit different. It was still basically the same, but just a little bit different. So the adjustment for the factory was not right for this particular blower. So what I had to do is adjust it out about, or it should say adjusted in. So the farther in I go, the lower the throttle, the more out, the higher the throttle. But at any rate, so I had to put it in further than usual. Matter of fact, it's in pretty far. And then I had to adjust the high, where I told you where the H's were on the far left. The high had to be turned about almost a fourth of a turn towards the engine, away from the carburetor. The low side had to be adjusted towards the engine, just a smidgen, only about maybe a 1/16 of an inch turn to the right towards the engine. And I got it to where it idles good and it sounds good. It's probably a little on the rich side, but I'd rather be a little rich than lean. So it does smoke just a little bit, but I'm fine with that. This is my own personal blower, so but anyway, I have it on full throttle almost full throttle, and I'm going to start it here. It's going to be quite noisy, but I'm going to start it. And I just have it, the throttle holder is off, and it's idling fine by itself, where I can go full throttle. And then back onto idle. Seems to be running fine. Like I said, it's running just a hair rich, but not bad. I'm gonna cut it off now. So all I did was just change the carburetor. I have changed everything else, the fuel filter, all the hoses, the air cleaner, the air, like I said, it didn't come with an air cleaner when I got it. It didn't have an air filter. The hoses were cracked and needed to replace, so I did do that last time. I had to buy another pull start. This pull start is not the greatest. It does work, but it's the outer piece of the rubber right here. I don't know if you can see in there, but this little rubber piece right there keeps popping off. So I'm just going to probably end up hot gluing that in there. But at any rate, thank you so much for watching the video. I hope y'all tune in next time. Thank you very much for watching.